Today's question is Bitcoin a scam or a Ponzi scheme, or is it part of a greater full theory? And it's very often that when people don't understand something or don't have the time to understand it, it's sometimes easier just to automatically categorize it as a scam. But in this video, I hope to present to you some concepts that will demystify Bitcoin and some facts as to why Bitcoin is not a scam. Now, let's take a brief history tour to understand the evolution of money. I understand what you're thinking, bear with me. Okay, so it all began around 40,000 years ago when our great ancestors used to pillage the neighboring village. This was the way of life, no rules, just survival. Financial system level 0. Until one day, a conversation was had between two villagers that went something like this. Dude, let's not kill each other anymore. How about I'll give you some of my space cakes for some of your mushrooms? Okay, I'm not sure if that's exactly how the conversation went, but I imagine it went something like that. But the point is that the first barter transaction occurred. This was financial system level 1. This was revolutionary, but not without pushback from some of the villagers. And bartering came with some of its own problems. How do you evaluate the value of every single item against everything else? What happens if you want an item and that person doesn't want your item? You have to use another level of transacting. I mean, it just didn't make any sense, but people got by. Until one day, around 5,000 years ago, another conversation occurred. Bob is sitting there with his delicious tomatoes, and Joe comes along, and he says, you know what? I'll give you 1 seashell for your delicious tomatoes. And Bob, of course, looks at him and goes, bro, what? Get out of here. You see, because to Bob, it looked like a scam. But to other individuals, they saw the value, a level of abstraction that was able to communicate the value of one item to a commonly agreed item, the seashell, and from the seashell to another item. This was financial system level 2. And it wasn't just seashells. Cocoa beans were used, glass beads were used, even rocks were used, but each of these came with problems of their own. The seashells were irregular and breakable, and the oceans just kept pushing out more of them, making it overly abundant. Cocoa beans would rot, rocks were just, let's be honest, stupid. And this is where we introduce hard money versus soft money. You see, it wouldn't make sense to use bananas as money. They would just rot away after a day or two. And it wouldn't make sense to use rocks because they're just so abundant and irregular. And this is where the race to the hardest form of money began, and how we eventually settled on gold for thousands of years. It had the good characteristics that money needed. It was scarce, it was divisible, it was eternal, it was fungible, meaning one gold coin could be used for another. They could be interchangeable. It became the gold standard. We reached financial system level 3. But don't think that gold didn't have volatility like how Bitcoin has today. The price would go up, the price would go down. Gold is a scam. No, it's the future. But what's wrong with my seashells? Exactly the same as what we're experiencing with Bitcoin today. But it too came with problems. It was heavy to carry. It was difficult to secure. As the value grew, so did the amounts of gold miners that came online that increased the supply and devalued the gold in your pockets. And this is when we introduced paper money, a certificate of deposit. You would deposit your gold at the bank, and they would provide you with a certificate that you could redeem for goods and services or for buying your gold back. But unfortunately, this required a ton of trust that the banks took full advantage of. And a few wars later, America lands up securing all of the gold, most of the gold. And let's just say that they gave out a lot more certificates than the amounts of gold that they had in their reserve bank, which is not a reserve, there's no reserves, and it's not federal. And countries began to notice when they were issuing more than they had. And some of the countries started asking for their gold back. So in 1971, President Nixon took America off the gold standard, which gave them the ability to print as much money as they wish. Full trust in the government, a fiat system, not a Ponzi scheme at all. We reached financial system level 4, but not all levels are a step in the right direction. It's free for governments to print money with a few clicks of a button. And every time they do, it devalues the money in your pocket, your hard-earned cash, a hidden tax. Deflation, they call it. It's necessary, they say. Is it? Ask yourself, please do ask yourself, is it really necessary? And this is when an unknown genius supercoder who went by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto used a conglomeration of verifiable algorithms to create Bitcoin, a monetary system that is orders of magnitude better than of any form of money before it. It was faster, more secure, a finite digital resource with near infinite divisibility, all the characteristics of money that gold or cash couldn't deliver on. Financial system level 5,000. At first, it seemed too good to be true. I mean, even I initially rejected it myself. But as you can trust your handy pocket calculator, based on mathematics, you can trust the algorithms of Bitcoin. Try it yourself. Go prove the algorithms of Bitcoin wrong. You can't. No one can. For 12 years, people have been trying to break Bitcoin, all with complete failure. And there comes a time when even if you don't have what it takes to verify it or the time to verify it for yourself, you have to trust the ones who can and have. For example, Jack Dorsey, who created Cash App, Peter Thiel and Elon Musk behind PayPal. And let's not forget, Elon Musk is using mathematics, science, and physics to create new modes of transport and sending rockets and landing them. If you can't trust yourself, trust the people who can verify this. Every day, more people are falling down the rabbit hole and never to come out the same. When Henry Ford first invented the vehicle, people called it a death trap and a scam. I mean, heck, I don't even know where the flux capacitor goes. I mean, let's be honest here. Same is true for the internet, and soon same will be true for Bitcoin. They will consider it a scam until they weren't. And finally, you might be asking, okay, the algorithms might be verifiable, but how do I know that they won't change? And this is where consensus comes in and the power of decentralization. You see, Bitcoin doesn't live on a single computer. It lives on millions of computers or nodes around the world, each running the exact same piece of code. And you'd have to change the code on every single computer or node to break the hardness of Bitcoin. And every day, more and more nodes are coming online, further securing the survivability. Bitcoin is the hardest form of money that humanity has ever known. So I took you on this history journey of money to show you how easy it was for humans to just reject a new idea and call it a scam. And even if those new ideas meant a better way of life, a more convenient way of living, people still considered it a scam until it wasn't, until it was determined for them. Now you have a choice. You can either jump down the rabbit hole and reap the rewards for taking the time to understand Bitcoin for yourself, or you can wait for the rest of the world to reap the rewards for understanding Bitcoin for you. I hope this video was enough to give you food for thought. If you agree with what I say, hit the like button, share it, and subscribe. Your help is helping. My name is Greg, and I'll see you around.